How Tony Stark is still alive, helping Spider-Man. What? He didn't die? How can this be? Avengers Endgame ended things in a dominant fashion. Questions were answered and even more questions being asked. We found out how Thanos was going to be defeated, learned how important Ant-Man really was, and as MCU fans, we suffered terrible losses with the loss of some of our beloved heroes. One of those losses being Iron Man. However, we believe he's still alive. He didn't die? How could that be? If you want to know, keep watching to find out. Everything up to this point. At this point, all Marvel Cinematic Universe fans know as things stand, Iron Man is dead. Pushing up daisies! He sacrificed himself by snapping his fingers with the Infinity Gauntlet he made. He held on long enough to say goodbye to Spider-Man and Pepper, but ultimately, he passed away. We saw him deliver a final message by way of a pre-recorded message, but that was it. Even with extended footage from the re-release, we learned that the death was very much permanent in nature. However, just because he passed away, doesn't mean we haven't seen or felt his influence since. In Spider-Man Far From Home, it was his directive upon a 16-year-old and an AI named Edith, who's arguably overpowered considering how easily it can command drone strikes and more. Tony Stark trusted Spider-Man to ultimately do what was right with his system, which is why he gave the system over. There were some stumbles and mistakes, but in the end, Spider-Man was proved he was worthy. Besides Stark's gifts, we also learned that his more arrogant days inadvertently created a new villain for Spider-Man. That villain was Mysterio, who turned out to be an awesome and charismatic villain. I know it's called Spider-Man, but really, by the end of the movie, I was watching it for Mysterio. After watching the latest Spider-Man movie and thinking over everything, we came up with a starting conclusion. Tony Stark is still alive, and no, we don't mean in people's memories or in their hearts. We mean that in one way or another, he's still around. In addition, he's helping Spider-Man. Now, we don't just come to this conclusion out of the blue. We have come up with some points we think would illustrate how perfectly he could still be alive and they can come back in the future. Check this one out! The Skrull connection.
Too many beers for this conversation.
Okay, so let's look into the Skrulls and how they managed to have their hands in the AI gifted to Spider-Man. Originally, we all thought that it was actually Nick Fury being a liaison between a dead Tony Stark and a still-alive Spider-Man, but we learned that in the end credits that the one who was Fury was actually a Skrull all along. Game changer! Specifically, it was the same guy that impersonated our favorite government spy. Looking back, it was obvious that it wasn't Fury, but that is why hindsight is 20/20. However, this reveal brings up some serious questions. Did Iron Man really give the system to Fury? Was Iron Man aware of the Skrulls? Did Tony Stark somehow let go of his need for control? Check out our other video for that. More importantly, how did this AI system get into Fury's hands, considering that Fury was gone until the final battle and Iron Man died before they could even consider the conversation? It's these questions that make us think that there was more to this AI being given to Spider-Man. Just saying, rewatch the movie. With this in mind, you might notice some details. Okay, pause. Thought it was a joke. So let's break it down bit by bit. It's certainly possible that before the events of Infinity War, Iron Man and Fury talked and discussed the possibility of bringing in Spider-Man into the future with excellent tech. It's not probable, though. They were kind of focused on other things. The entire time,
Hey, let's work on developing this B-lister into something more usable. Yes.
the entire time, Iron Man acted more like a protective parent to Spider-Man instead of being a partner scenario, meaning that it was probably a decision made after Iron Man realized they could actually bring everyone back. Next, we believe that Iron Man knew about the Skrulls. Let's face it, Tony Stark hacks into everything. He knew about S.H.I.E.L.D. trying to harness the Tesseract to make weapons, so it's certainly likely that he knew about the Skrulls. No matter how classified something is, things have a way of being revealed no matter what. That's Spy and Heroes 101. So we can assume that the Skrulls were a known factor then. The control thing. There's not a chance that Tony would let go of this need to control everything.
And fellas to watch our other video for more of that.
There were other heroes who were powerful enough to perform the snap in the final battle, yet he chose to do it himself. This implies that he was playing 3D chess while everyone was still playing chess. There had to be another reason. Just saying he made a glove and then he made a backup glove out of his own suit, for crying out loud. So what does that mean? It means that more than likely Tony Stark, who died, was a Skrull. Skrulls are able to take on anyone's appearance. We expect he knew of them, and we saw the leader of the Skrulls contact Nick Fury, saying he was needed while he was out in space. Who's to say that Iron Man isn't part of that? No one. That's who. We didn't see Iron Man throughout the whole battle, so he could easily have set up a fake out to get the job done. A little misdirection planned out for the battle, maybe. Maybe the real Iron Man was there, and a Skrull Iron Man was there. Just saying, throw that guy in a suit and who'd be able to tell anyways? If this is indeed true, then we can expect Iron Man to make a return appearance once Marvel Studios is ready to pursue that storyline. It would certainly make for an interesting twist, and is quite possible considering the questions were answered. Maybe they're just biding their time, letting the other storylines develop before, BAM! Big ol' Starky Stark back in the middle tags. Soda pop. That was a soda pop, by the way. Barley soda pop. Not so. Artificial intelligence. This is my favorite point right here. In the comics, Tony Stark has been an artificial intelligence before. This is not a new idea, and is believable by comic book standards. We never saw Tony do this in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, though, until now. See, we have a theory that Iron Man is actually Edith. If you spell out the letters, it could be E, even, D, dead, I'm, T, the, H, hero. Think about it. He figured out how to navigate time travel because of a random idea that sparked into one of his ideas. Brainstorm! If he could do that, he can certainly figure out how to transport or copy his consciousness into an AI system. But Edith is a female voice, you say. So what? It's still a system. If you were Tony Stark, and we didn't want everyone to know you were still around, we wouldn't use our real voice either. Plus, we have to consider how Spider-Man was treated in his first solo movie. His suit had a training wheels protocol in place until it was hacked. The system became more accessible as Spider-Man matured. Fast forward to Spider-Man Far From Home, and we have a Spider-Man who's made it to learner's permit status. He's driving, he's a master of the road, he's activating kill mode. He still needs a co-pilot though. Notice Edith was there to fulfill his request because he was trusted. That means the mistakes were on Spider-Man, and only a worldwide level threat would have overridden that protocol. As dangerous as Mysterio was, we can't really consider him a worldwide threat yet at this point in time. There's no overrides necessary.
Oh, it's a smart AI.
Our theory is that as Spider-Man figures out how to stand more on his own, the Edith persona will go away and it will actually be Tony Stark. This requires time and patience to realize, but we at Up Next think it's a very real possibility. Even if somehow it's not Edith, we can then see a new AI system coming around that's undoubtedly Tony Stark, because we quite frankly see it's an easy way to have Robert Downey Jr. come back without having to maintain the ability to suit up at any given moment. Multiversal dilemma. If there's one thing that's been talked about and hinted for a long time, it's the multiverse. Originally, it was briefly mentioned in the Doctor Strange movie, but was then teased in Spider-Man Far From Home. We since learned that it was really nothing more than a tease, and then the multiverse wasn't really in Spider-Man movie. However, since then, we've learned that the multiverse is truly coming. In the second Doctor Strange solo movie coming out, it's going to be all about exploring the multiverse. Thankfully, the easy answer is to say that, well, there you go. Grab an Iron Man from a different multiverse and boom, he's back. It's not quite that simple though. Let's look at the different ways the multiverse can prove he's still alive and viable in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. First, there's Doctor Strange himself. He's a legitimate connection to the Iron Man thanks to their rush bonding during Infinity War and the end of Endgame. He knew ever since he went time hopping that Tony Stark was going to have to sacrifice himself for true victory to be achieved. The thing is though, Doctor Strange is what most people would call a perfectionist. We sincerely doubt that he's going to stop right after dying and everyone else winning and think, well, I've got it, let's fight Thanos. No, he's going to consider what actually happened after the key moment. Why? Because we could argue that when Thor went for the head the second time around before the time traveling, the heroes would win. It was a Pyrrhic victory, but still a win. We believe that Strange probably saw that, since he never actually died in the Soul Stone. This means he would have seen the fallout from losing Iron Man. However, what if he saw that he would come back? Well, now, that's where it becomes more interesting. Yes, we could certainly get an alternative universe version of Iron Man or Tony Stark. He could come to the main universe and try to settle in. It's the kind of thing that's been done before and is usually successful. However, that Iron Man would have no ties to the heroes we know, and more importantly, no reason to help Spider-Man. So, while it could make him alive in a sense, we think this is less likely to occur. However, we mentioned that he could possibly transport his consciousness, and Doctor Strange has astral projection powers. Why couldn't the two do a last-second switch-out that moved Iron Man into a different universe or dimension? The possibility is there, and since multiple universes are being explored, we can see Doctor Strange tracking Tony Stark down while doing his thing. If this actually happened to be true, it could be argued that since it was done by magic, Tony Stark might be able to briefly affect the main universe from time to time. Time will tell how exactly the multiverse will be explored, but the possibilities are endless, and it's fun to think about how logistically Iron Man could still be alive. Fingers crossed that's the case. New actor coming. While we definitely think it's too soon, it's not out of the realm of possibility that a new actor from the role of Iron Man could be coming. Phase 5 is just a few years away from kicking off. This would allow 4 years of hunting and recruiting for a new actor to take the role and make an appearance in Phase 5. This could be teased, though, in Phase 4 as a build-up. Marvel Studios has said before that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is changing. What change is more drastic than slipping in a new actor into a role we all know and love? We personally hope this doesn't happen, but we can't rule out the possibility. Iron Man's character is just way too popular. Final thoughts. No matter what is actually true or not, there are a couple of things that can't be denied. The first is that no Marvel fan was actually ready to say goodbye to Tony Stark. So if there's a way for him to still be around, we're all for it. The second thing is that there are a lot of things we never got to see from Iron Man. Major storylines in the comics. In a way, it makes it feel like the MCU Iron Man story is left unfinished. And up next, we can never get enough Iron Man. So we may be biased on that last point. However, fine, we still stand by it. As of now, it remains to be seen how Phase 4 will play out or even really be set up. There are new villains to explore as well as new heroes. However, we may just see some of our old favorites when we least expect it. For now, stay tuned and we'll return soon with new theories, reports, news, and more in another installment.